What's up, everybody? Welcome to the first ever NFL Pick'em Week. I know a few people have been asking for it, not too many, but I want to put this out there because I am in a lot of fantasy leagues and Pick'em leagues, and I think it'd just be fun to do a weekly Pick'em extravaganza. So far, I'm doing pretty good in my league. I think I get 43 out of 48. 61, 76. So 43 out of 76. Well, 77 technically with the Colts game that I'd already played. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do rapid reaction of the 15 games. I'm going to give you who I think is going to win, who I think is going to cover the spread, and probably a few beasts for your fantasy teams that will be playing in those games that hopefully will turn out well and give your team a victory, or at least make it close if you're pretty far behind after the Colts game. So yeah, let's get right into it. I had the Colts winning this week, covering the spread of 3 points, and these spreads are taken on Tuesday in my Pick'em league, so the lines do change throughout the week, but I'm just doing the original lines because that's what my Pick'em league actually does. So the line was favored by 3. I picked the Colts. I had them with my, what I call a total winnability index, which takes into account home away advantage, spreads, records, all that stuff. It's a max of 200, a minimum of 100. And the Colts favored 120 to 108, even though they were the away team in Houston. So it's a difference of 12, and 12 is a relatively decent number. I mean, you can get high as up to 80s in this index, and I just came up with this a couple weeks ago, so it's something brand new. But I had the Colts winning with the TWI, and the Colts ended up covering with a score of 33-28, so I am 1-0 for the week. Little did I know that T.Y. Hilton would go off like he did. So, second game, Falcons Bears. Falcons favored by 3. I got the total winnability index, the Falcons at 122 and the Bears at 92. Now this is going to be a pretty high scoring game, I think. Both teams don't really have much for defense. The Bears might have a little bit more defense, but the Falcons are playing in the Georgia Dome, and they are money in the Georgia Dome. It's just like the Saints in the Superdome. They can't play anywhere else, but when they come home, it's like, hey, automatic victory. So, I mean, the Falcons, 3 points. That's basically the home field advantage of 3 points, but I think they're going to score more than that, especially with Julio, Roddy, and maybe Steven Jackson might get some points. But look for Matt Ryan, Julio, Roddy, and Matt Bryant to put up some major points for the Falcons. The Bears will be the Bears. Forte is going to be a beast. He's on my fantasy teams. Martellus Bennett had an off week last week, but that's all right. I think he'll get some catches this week. It'll be a high-scoring game. Guessing 35-31. I think the Falcons will barely cover the spread, but I am picking them this week. Third game. Now this was an iffy game. The Titans at home against the Jaguars, and the Titans have Charlie Whitehurst that's going to start over Jake Locker. They got Delaney Walker. They have Bishop Sankey and Sean Green. Bishop Sankey is probably going to have a bigger game. He's being utilized more and more each week. The Jaguars don't have a running game and don't have a defense, but they got some decent receivers in Hearns and Shorts. If Shorts is back in healthy, he's going to be the number 1 overall receiver for that team. But the Titans are favored by 6, and the winnability index is 93 to 89 in favor of the Titans. And I'm just going with the Titans because the Jaguars are god-awful. And the Titans are going to be reeling after that loss last week to the Browns where they gave up 25 points, 25-point lead, and ended up losing by a point. I think they're going to shut down the Jags. Toby Gerhart won't do much as usual, so I'm picking the Titans in this game. The fourth game, I have the Buccaneers at home against the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are looking to be a lot more solid team than they were in 2013 with the Super Bowl hangover. The Buccaneers are a major letdown again with that offense. It seems that they just can't get on track. They did beat a mediocre Steelers team. And I do have the Buccaneers underdogs in the TWI with 102 to 81 in favor of the Ravens. The Ravens are favored by 3 points away. And being favored away is never the best thing, but when you got a Ravens defense, you have the Ravens running game with Forsett and Pierce and Taliaferro. And then you also have Steve Smith Sr. and Torrey Smith and Flacco being a game manager. I think they're gonna stifle the Buccaneers. So I'm picking the Ravens in that game. The fifth game, I have the Jets at home versus the Broncos, and the Jets coming off a 31-0 no-show in San Diego last week. I have the TWI. It's actually a lot closer than expected because the Jets do play well at home usually, but their QB situation is non-existent. Their defense is just faltering, and it's a 108 to 124 in favor of the Broncos. The spread is 8 points, and I think the Broncos will easily cover that. It'll be a 2-touchdown victory there in the Meadowlands. Game 6, I have the Vikings at home against the Lions. Now this is an interesting game because Megatron is out. Reggie Bush is probably going to be out. Who does that leave? Joique Bell, Golden Tate, and randoms like Jeremy Ross and Ebron, a few for the Lions, but Matthew Stafford's going to make mistakes. Vikings have Teddy Bridgewater coming in, providing that spark like they did against Atlanta. Look for Greg Jennings to have a decent game, Asiata to have a good game, and McKinnon to back up Asiata, probably with a score. And the total winnability index is 113 to 91 in favor of the Vikings. The Lions are favored by 2 points. I am picking the Vikings in that game with the TWI. Now, this next game is the very interesting game. The Patriots favored by 3 at Buffalo. And I have the total winnability index in a large favor of Buffalo, 129 to 85. This is a very interesting game because the Patriots just coming off a huge win after a huge loss. They needed to prove, and they're so up and down. The defense is so up and down. The Bills, with Kyle Orton back there, I think it doesn't matter who you have back in there, whether it be Manuel, whether it be Orton. If those QBs don't make mistakes the way Manuel did, and throw that pick six like he did to J.J. Watt, this team could be 4-1. They have a good, solid defense. They have good running backs. Spiller's healthy. Jackson has an ankle, but he's probably going to tough it out. And I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. If the Bills might lose this one, it might be an even spread, but I could see them covering. That's why I'm going with the Bills in this game over the Patriots away, because the Patriots away have not been good historically away from Foxborough. Next one is a tough game. It's a very tough game. It's the Cincinnati Bengals favored by 7 over the visiting Carolina Panthers. I have the winnability index at 124 to 109 in favor of the Bengals. 7 points is a lot for such a low spread in the winnability index. But you do have to realize the Bengals coming off a huge primetime loss. They're going to want to prove something. The defense is at home. They went 8-0 at home last year. Carolina's not the same team they were last year. They're a little bit slower, especially on defense. And even with A.J. Green out, I think Giovanni Bernard and Mohamed Sanu are going to have big games, and Dalton to probably throw about 3 TD passes. If they don't turn the ball over, I see the Bengals covering this spread, so I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals. The next game, and a lot of people are going to be like, oh, I don't know about this one, but I have the Steelers covering the spread and beating the Browns, who are favored by 1.5 points. And the Browns are at home. Now, the reason why I went with the Steelers is obviously the winnability index is 103 to 90 in favor of the Steelers. I look at it this way, that if the Steelers can maintain the ground game, the Browns defense isn't as good as it was last year. If the Steelers are able to work Blount and work Le'Veon Bell and get the ball in Antonio Brown's hands and Heath Miller's hands, they're playmakers, and not turn the ball over and maintain possession of the clock, they're going to win this game. I don't have faith in Ben Tate. I don't have faith in Miles Austin. And Jordan Cameron's been a no-show this year. So will Hoyer be able to bring him back this week after that huge high? I don't know. I want to go Browns. It's a toss-up game, but I'm gonna have to go Steelers on this one to cover the spread. The next game, my Packers visiting the Miami Dolphins, and this was no brainer. I mean, the Packers scored 80 points in the last 2 weeks, only allowed 27. Even though I allowed a ton of yards, yards don't matter. Yards don't matter in my calculation. It's all about the points. So I have the Packers covering and winning over the 3.5 points that they're favored over the Dolphins. Winnability index is in favor of the Dolphins here, but I just don't see the Packers being slowed down by the Dolphins defense. And Lamar Miller is not going to run all over the Packers like Sean Moreno could. So it's going to make them one-dimensional. They're going to cover Mike Wallace, and that leaves Hartline and Clay. And Hartline and Clay have done pretty much nothing because I had them on my fantasy teams this year. So going with the Packers, back to pack for sure. Next game, incredibly easy game to pick. Raiders at home against the Chargers. Chargers favored by 7 on the road. Winnability index, I got the Chargers favored by 71 in the index at a 137 to 66. And there's a reason for that. The Raiders have no offense and barely any defense. They gave up 38 points to Miami in London, which is ridiculous because, I mean, Miami's not that good. Okay, they beat the Patriots, but then they just got boot stomped by KC, who doesn't really have much of an offense. I mean, they did boot stomp the Patriots, but, I mean, they've been an up-and-down team. So it's like, okay, up-and-down team, you know, against a team that's surging in the Chargers. No brainer. Chargers cover, win easily in this game. Next game, this is a little bit tougher game. The Seahawks favored by 8.5 points in the clink against the Cowboys. Tony Romo and mainly DeMarco Murray. DeMarco Murray has led that team to a 4-1 record. If they put the game on Romo's shoulders like they did in Week 1, this team would be 2-3 easily 2 or 3. DeMarco Murray though cannot sustain 31 carries, 31 to 35 carries a week. He's gonna be tore up. Hopefully he makes it more than 10 games because he's having just a career year. But I have the winnability index in favor of the Seahawks, 143 to 99, and the Seahawks just don't lose at home with Russell Wilson and Marshawn Lynch, and it doesn't matter who's receiving. Russell is going to get him the ball, and that team just doesn't make mistakes. So I got the Seahawks winning by 10. It'd probably be a 30 to 20 game or a 27-17 game, like it was against the Redskins last week. So that brings us to the Cardinals Redskins. Cardinals favored by 3.5 at home. Winnability index, they are favored 132 to 89. Now this is an interesting game. Is it going to be that Logan guy? Is it going to be Stanton? Is it going to be Carson Palmer? Honestly, I don't think it really matters. They got Andre Ellington. He's healthy, had a big game last week. The Redskins don't have much of a defense, and the Cardinals do have a defense. And they're playing at home. They're coming off a big loss from Denver. They want to prove the naysayers like, oh yeah, we're 3-0, 3-1. I mean, you lose against good teams, but you got to beat the teams that are bad, and the Redskins are bad. Even with Kirk Cousins back there, Deshaun Jackson and Alfred Morris, I feel this game's going to be a 27-23, 27-20 game in favor of the Cardinals. I'm picking the Cardinals along with the index. Then the Sunday night game. This is going to be a really, really good game. Can't wait to watch this. The Eagles at home, favored by 2.5 against the New York Football Giants. And I hate the Giants because they beat the Packers twice and went on to win the Super Bowl in 2007, 2011. But I like them in this game here with a 131 to 67 edge in the winnability index. That's because the Eagles are just not good at covering the spread at home. Not good at winning games at home, and I don't trust this team. I don't trust that defense, and I don't trust the offense. McCoy, that offensive line is beat up. Look for Donnell and Nix and Andre Williams to have big games for the Giants. And I'll probably say Macklin and Ertz have decent games for the Eagles. It'll be a high-scoring game, most likely, but I think 31-28 in favor of the Giants, and they will win that game. Moving on to Monday night. Not as excited about this game, but Austin Davis has provided a spark for the Rams, who are at home against the Niners, and the Niners favored by 3.5 points. Winnability index, I got the Niners favored by 72 at a 146-74 clip. And I got to go with it. I got to go with the 49ers here. I mean, the more well-rounded team, more weapons that Niners have, the better defense, better special teams. The Rams, even with Austin Davis, the rookie back there, winning the starting job under Fisher, and Brian Quick catching passes, Jared Cook dropping passes, and whoever's in the backfield, I don't think it's going to matter. I think the Niners are going to win this game, at least by a touchdown, probably 27-13. I don't see the Rams scoring too many points, unfortunately. So there are my picks for the week. Remember, I am 1-0 already. I did pick the Colts earlier. Didn't have time to put out or make a video. But now I want to do this every week starting now. So if you want to play along, leave your picks in the comments. And ask me fantasy questions. I'll try and respond. And good luck out there. And we will see you next time on the gridiron of the Fantasy Football League and Pick'em Spread Extravaganza. Take care.